Non-district residents must include the name of their business, how they do business with the Board of Education. All speakers in this open session must state which agenda item they are speaking on. Amy will have our timer because you're allowed 3 minutes. So we ask that you come up to the podium just so everyone can hear you. And she'll have the timer just so you can gauge our 3 minutes. Any takers? Go right on up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Bill Vaughn. I am a resident of the district. I have 2 children at Maple Mere Elementary School, 1st grade and 4th grade. I'm here tonight on behalf of literally dozens and dozens and dozens of families from Maple Mere, another 6 families from Willow Ridge. So this is not just my voice, but many voices. And we really just want to shout from the rooftops, our kids need to be back eating in the school cafeterias. Of course, we understood completely why we needed to pivot during COVID for protocols and procedures. But as we know, thankfully, we have been able to start moving beyond those very strict protocols and procedures. Not eating in the cafeterias is one of the last things that has, excuse me, remained from the initial COVID protocols and procedures. Sorry, it's an emotional thing for me because this is really difficult time for our children. We've been stressing throughout this whole thing. I was a part of the reopening process with the district, the social emotional health of our children. And I have to tell you, just watching a movie in a classroom is not the best for their social emotional health. They're going right on their iPads. All due respect in the world, Superintendent Ginestri, I know you have in your presentation that's to come, students are interacting and socializing in the classrooms. Maybe some, but they're not. They're going right on their iPads and they're right into screens. More than ever, we should be getting our children off their screens, interacting with each other. This is the age where they learn how to navigate friendships, relationships, difficult times. That's a part of growing up. They're not going to learn that from a screen. I hear all the things my son in 1st grade is telling me, oh, you should see Daddy, I'm so sorry. My friend was on his iPad and he looked up scary pictures of this or scary pictures of that. And no one's monitoring what these kids are doing with their iPads in class. So I can't stress enough how much this has to happen. I understand now it's probably more of a concern for space issues, especially at Maple Mere. We are bursting at the seams. We know this, we know it's an issue, but please, a 5-year plan is not going to help the children that are there right now. And again, I don't say that with any disrespect at all. I can only imagine the difficulties that this is presenting for everyone. But we can't sacrifice the children that are there now for the needs 5 years from now. We need to be creative with solutions. Why can't we set up a big tent outside 4 months out of the year, September, October, May, June, let the kids eat outside? Then they can at least go to the playground. Because right now, and it's also references in here about recess and playground extra times. It used to be the kids after lunch, they would just walk out the door and go to the playground. They can't do that anymore. The extra recess at Maple Mere, I can't speak for the other schools, is canceled because they don't have enough volunteers to go to every single individual classroom to get the kids, take them to the playground, then bring them back in. Sorry.
No, finish your sentence.
Yeah, so again, social emotional health is the most important thing for these children right now. And they're absolutely not growing in that regard when they're just put in front of a movie or an iPad for their lunchtime. They need to be with each other in a larger social setting. So thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And customarily, we don't respond to people when they are talking up there, but please, if you can stay and listen to Mr. Ginestri's presentation, that would be great. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Maggie McDonald, 39 Daisy Lane. I am a resident, but also a teacher in the district. And I'd like to concur what this gentleman said. The kids are in their seat. They're at their desk. They're in front of a screen, whether it be an iPad. At lunchtime, the movie goes on. When we come in, they're social emotional. It's abounding. They're angry. They are telling on each other. They don't know anybody from the other classes. They need to start. We're not allowed to play with another class on the playground. It's just Mrs. McDonald's 14 kids all day long. They need to start moving. They need to start communicating. They need to start playing with their peers. And as COVID wraps up, which I'm hoping it is slowly beginning to wrap up, some of our restrictions are becoming less. Flag Day today, hundreds of kids on the front lawn sharing towels. It was great. It was wonderful to see again. If we can do those kinds of things, we can let the kids eat in a cafeteria. We can let the kids have more than one class on the playground at a time. These restrictions were there for a reason, and it saved a lot of sickness and everything. But now it's time to get back to the normal of whatever normal we can get back to. And they need to be together. They need to be in the lunchroom. And if people think there are not behaviors happening, we are dealing with them. When we walk in the classroom, the teachers are dealing with the behaviors, not the administrators. There's no reports going to the offices, but every day we are dealing with tears and shouts and tattles. It's happening. And as a teacher and a parent, I would implore that we let these kids go back to the cafeteria.
Thank you, Mrs. Young. Anyone else? Okay. All right, that next takes us to unfinished business, which we have none, and this takes us next to superintendent's report.
Right, thank you, Mrs. Jason. We have a few presentations for the board and our audience tonight. And first, I would like to welcome our Villa Marita photography contest winners to the podium. So why don't you all come on up, and I have your presentation. So just let me know when to hit the next slide.
All right, awesome. Go ahead, you can start it up.
Hold
so-
on 1 second. Let me just.
So while he's getting that up, my name is Kristen Purek. I teach here at the high school. I teach art. I'm one of 4 teachers that teach art, and I mostly teach photography. And these are some of my incredible students this year that I have. This year, there were not very many shows. So as shows start to come, I'm like trying to grab onto whatever we can. So we did the Villa Maria. It was a virtual show this year, and I had 21 students in it this year. It was a juried show, so that's really impressive that 21 of them were in it. And of the 15 awards that they gave out, Sweet Home won 6 of them. So we did super great this year. And this was like throughout all of Western New York. So I'm so proud of them. So I wanted to give them some awards from your district here. So we'll start with Catherine. Catherine, you want to show your piece? This was Catherine's symbolic self-portrait that she did. She's a dancer, and she's on her way off to do some, what do you have tonight? And some auditions tonight. So she's going to fly out of here and go do those auditions. But Catherine, congratulations.
Thank you.
You did awesome. She won an honorable mention, and all of our students won cash awards for these. So that was pretty awesome too. Alec Murphy is not here. Hunter Trilov. Go ahead, show your face.
See,
A little dangerous. He did this with steel wool on fire on a string. I didn't, parents are involved in this. I didn't. Jaden Pham, yeah. Amber Murek, she also won an honorable mention. Oh, wait, no, you won 3rd place overall. You won 3rd place. She did a really fantastic job with blur motion photography. So I'm really proud of her for that. And then a big congratulations goes to Nicole Shen. She's just an incredible photo student. She won 1st place overall in that show. And so she, $100 gift card, I think you got to Amazon. Yeah, she did really great. She's also trying to get an internship this summer. So if Herman Studios is watching, please get her. She's great. Thank you so much for all your support.
wait, come on, you gotta come around and shake hands, and we gotta get a picture, come on.
guys go shake hands.
Making our picture?
Yeah, they should be taking the picture.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Great job. Great job. Great work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congrats.
Congratulations.
So I get a picture. Mr. Funk, of the two of
We'll
them?
get them. I've got them. Yep. We'll take care of it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming down today. I draw really good stick figures. I know you'll get from me.
Anybody would like to see more of our students' work, they can certainly scan that, or just check out the presentation online. Thank you, Mrs. Burek. Thank you. All right, next we have Chef is here tonight, and they want to talk about the mini grant program and talk about our winners. So Mrs. LeBrake, thank you.
Hey, hi, everyone. Good evening, Board of Education members, students, staff, teachers, administration, and community members. My name is Lisa LeBrake. I'm the president of the Sweet Home Education Foundation. Our foundation was created in 2019 with just a very small goal of raising money for classroom mini grants. But now in 2022, we've actually grown to implement programs such as Sponsor a Musician, the Weekend Backpack Food Program, Books for Barbers and Beauticians, Athlete Snacks, and Teacher Mini Grants. Our mission is to assist all our Sweet Home students and families. And tonight we are here to recognize all the volunteers, including our mini grant winners. We promise this won't be long, but we do have quite a few people to thank for participating and volunteering to make this foundation the best it is. We are also going to recognize two special people. One is for our community award, and they will receive their award in front of all of you, and our staff award. These are people that are outstanding in their fields and help us be successful. So the first person I'd like to call up is our backpack program site manager and high school teacher, Brianna Van Harrison. And she's going to recognize our student volunteers.
Good evening. My name is Brianna, and I'm honored to acknowledge our student volunteers this evening. These volunteers are quintessential and so momentous for our program. We could not do this without them. They assist us every week with the food program. They come in and they fundraise, they do community events, they help us organize, they help everything run very smoothly. We're fortunate to have such a dedicated team. They'll give up their study halls, lunches, after school time, and weekends. They're the true heroes of our foundation, and thank you so much for your involvement, guys. Students, when you hear your name, please come up and stand in front so the school board can acknowledge you. Our first person here is Alicia LeBrake. Erin Sharif. I'm not sure if all of them are here today. Okay. Shannon Sullivan. Elena Zilsberger. Aiden Valone. Cameron Coughlin. Durgam Abu Kafaya cannot be here tonight. Zoe Hollowell is not here tonight. Cameron Coogan, Haley Valancourt, Cadence Adi is here. Isabella Gagliardi. Paula Wild. Afifa Roja. And then we also have Erica Edholm and Megan Gerber. And I don't think they can make it tonight. And now I'd like to call up Jenna DePascal, our chef board member, who's going to recognize two of our student volunteers who serve as president and vice president of our chef student council. So no, we didn't forget you guys.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Jenna, and I am honored tonight to acknowledge the 2 student volunteers who are part of our chef board. Last year, in order to gain a student perspective, we asked for students to apply for a position on our board. Senior Matthew McGowan and junior Caitlin Bechtel were selected as representatives. Matt and Caitlin, please come up. Matt and Caitlin, we are honored to have you as part of our chef board. We appreciate your time, creative energy, boundless ideas, and enthusiasm to help others. Your dedication and care for others is truly commendable. Before I call up Mr. Feldman here to recognize our staff volunteers, the chef board, the kids would like to thank our fearless president, Lisa LeBrake, for all her dedication to chef. Without her tireless effort every day, running around the building, organizing events, she has done a tremendous amount for this district, and we really appreciate, and we know that she will honor all of us, but she will forget herself. So we didn't want to go without recognizing Lisa.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Sorry about that.
So I will just echo some of the comments about Mrs. LeBrake. She's on top of everything. I even have a script, so I don't screw this up. Hello, everyone. I would like to recognize the following community and staff members for their dedication to our foundation by volunteering for Chef. We are very fortunate to have such amazing staff members as part of our organization, because without them, we certainly could not be as successful as we are. So when I call your name, if you just come up and get your certificate, we'll kind of line up back there and then do the handshake with the board thing afterwards. First up, Bree Van Harrison. Liz Cohen, I don't see Liz. Scott Aquilino. No Scott. Marcy Gerlach. Missy Liska. Lori Caccinetti. Here. Stephen Becker. Brian Cozio. Sadek Albania. Tim Cardinal. Marky Zadorjek. Melissa Skurshevsky. Alicia Feeblecorn. Sarah Fenner. Zach Trunzo. Christina Reed. Jennifer Hiller. Heather Palucci. Lisa Fayes. Paul Simondera, who's here? Come on up, Paul. Kate Van Volkenberg. Kim Panapinto. Sarah Lindeman. I did see Sarah here. Tony Day. Jessica Whitcomb. Christy Zajac. Lynn Kawa. Come on up, Lynn. Kirsten Bateshold. Here. Lauren Hiller. Maggie McDonald. Come on up, Mag. Kelly Bogaz. Jenna DiPasquale. And last but not least, Becky Mansell. Jenna DePasquale is going to be up next, but how about a round of applause for our volunteers?
Thanks, Jenna. Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you. Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you for all you do.
Good to see you too. Hey.
I know, no, it's not strange at all.
I don't know you well enough. We'd now like to recognize our classroom mini grants. One of the main initiatives of Chef is to provide mini grants to classroom teachers. I'm proud to announce the mini grant committee this year has given away over a total of $6,000 to district classrooms. Since the fall recipients were already recognized, we'd like to recognize the following people for their spring mini grants. If you're here tonight, please come forward to receive your certificate. Alyssa Braun, Proactive, Safe, and Functional Sensory Area. Susan Steffens, 4th grade Birdwatching Project. Leanne Zoltik, Bringing History to Life through Stop Motion Animation. Leanne Hildreth, ABC Club. Dana McWhite, Ready Academy Composting Project. And Tracy Langlots, Clay Characters. Okay, up next is Darcy Spangler, Secretary of Chef, who will announce the recipients of our Friends of Chef Community Award.
Thank you, Jenna. My name is Darcy, and I am proud to acknowledge the recipient of Friends of Chef Community Award tonight. Would Kristen Kosha and Just-G Bahati please come up? They are from McDonald's. It is our honor to award McDonald's with our community award due to their commitment to our organization, specifically through the weekend backpack food program. At a moment's notice, if we called to ask for everything from utensils and plates for our homeless families to food items such as cookies or condiments, McDonald's representatives responded immediately. Their service to our community is impeccable and unparalleled. We are grateful to partner with them on many occasions so that our foundation is able to serve our families. We would like to honor them with a plaque and certificate this evening.
How are you? How are you? Thank you for all your information. Thank you for everything.
Oh. Kristen and Just G are alumni from Sweet Home.
Thank you so much for your generosity. Thanks. Congratulations.
And now I would like to call up Kelly Bogas, Vice President of Chef, who will announce the Friends of Chef Staff Award.
Good evening, everybody. In order for Chef to be as successful as it is, we have extremely dedicated individuals who tirelessly commit their lives to making other people's lives better. The individual tonight who is receiving the Friends of Chef Staff Award has taken on a greater role in our backpack program. She is the one who sets the menus, takes inventory, creatively designs meals, packages recipes like she works for Go Fresh, and volunteers in our food pantry night and day. We don't know what we would do without this staff member, and we are humbled in her presence. Would Brianna Van Harrison please come up and accept her plaque and certificate? We'd like to thank everybody on the board tonight for allowing us the time to do our presentations. And we appreciate the venue to acknowledge the many people who make Chef what it is today and what it will be in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can exit.
Can wheel on out of here. So before you all exit, I just want to say I've been fortunate to sit on the board for the year and to learn about Chef as it's progressed throughout the year. And I know it has a history back to 2019. And I really, as superintendent, appreciate getting to sit on the board, but it has to go stated, and it's never said enough, how many students you all impact. And it's incredible the amount of volunteerism that you do and the amount of, like I said, impact that you have on our kids. And you do it in such a classy and dignified way that you're just making a difference every single day and in kids' lives. So it's been an honor to sit on it for a year. I look forward to many years to come being on the board and helping in any way I can. And a special thank you to Lisa for all your leadership in making this such a success. So thank you. And if this would be a good segue, if you're more than welcome to stay, but if anybody would like to,
Thanks,
well,
everybody.
I don't even have to say it completely.
That hold for me too?
Enjoy your evening. What is the weather nice or something outside?
Good time for me to leave too?
Now there are 6.
And now
This is riveting stuff. I don't know why everybody doesn't want to see this. I'm here tonight to present the work of the District Health and Wellness Committee. Mr. Genestri, if you just hit the next slide, please. So this is part of our annual review. The District Health and Wellness Committee, we've held monthly meetings really since March to really look at two things, the comprehensive attendance policy and our procedures, as well as the district wellness policy and plan. As I mentioned, each of the above really must be reviewed every year, and recommended changes are presented to the board for your approval. The policy changes really are driven by, the BOCES policies that come to us. We did have a discussion earlier in the year about our comprehensive attendance policy, and that was approved, I think back in March or April, if I remember correctly. But Mr. Jesse, if you hit the next slide. So these are members of our Health and Wellness Committee, a good gathering of folks. I won't read them all to you, but it's been a challenge, quite honestly, to get everybody together in the same room. So we've had some success where we've met virtually and done our work virtually to kind of get to a point where we're making some recommendations to you on both. So if you'd hit the next slide, Mr. Genestri. From a comprehensive attendance plan review, we really looked at these 5 areas. Given we've talked about coming out of COVID, but we continue to codify in our comprehensive attendance policy that if we have to switch back to remote learning, that attendance is obviously very important in a remote learning setting. So we'll continue to codify that. We did talk about the possibility of removing it, but felt as though with remote learning, if needed, we'd have to codify it for attendance purposes. From an attendance, a review of attendance and attendance issues, we're recommending that we start interventions earlier. You remember there's tiers of interventions, and we'll talk a little bit about those. We're asking to implement, in addition to the many of the things that come home in the summertime to parents as we ramp up to the start of school, we're looking to add some communications about the importance of student attendance, something that we've not done in the past. And then again, given where we are with the pandemic, that we're looking to remove in the attendance plan some attendance incentives that were as part of our procedures in the plan itself. And then just an overall review process of chronic attendance issues for the individual student who learns of that information, how that information is shared, et cetera. Next slide, please, Mr. Genestri. So again, just the first recommended change, to continue to incorporate the possibility of remote learning. Right now it says remote attendance is monitored daily because again, we were in a pandemic when this was last addressed, and that we would change if needed, remote attendance is monitored daily. So just to continue to codify that in the event that we were to go back to remote for whatever reason, we wouldn't have to adapt the plan at a later date. And then the tiered intervention system that we talk about in terms of chronic either absences or tardies, it really mirrors what the board adopted as part of the policy number 7110. Really, if you remember, it was about 10% that we started the first intervention. The policy from BOCES that you adopted says really to kind of roll that back to 5% when chronic attendance and days missed get to about a 5% marker that we would begin interventions home. So it used to be that any student who reaches currently, it's rather any student who reaches 10 days of absences in the first 10 weeks of school, that first intervention would hit. We're recommending to match the policy to roll those back to 5 days in the first 10 weeks of school, 8 days of absences in the first 20 weeks of school, and 12 weeks in the first 30 weeks of school is when really that first intervention would hit. Next slide. And again, those recommendations, you have a copy of the comprehensive student attendance plan, but you'll see the tiers of recommendations as far as interventions go. But from a summertime perspective, the group felt as though that it was important to send home a letter to all students, including the students, because right now the practice is students that had attendance issues the previous year, we would send home a letter in the summertime included with their packet that just really stresses the importance of school attendance and the importance of being there. So the committee felt as though that it was probably best to send that letter home to everybody. And that's what we're recommending to be able to do. The other issue is from an attendance standpoint, again, remember, there's an excused absence, there's an unexcused absence. When an excuse doesn't come in, it's flagged as an unexcused absence. Many of those reasons are because either the parents forget or those types of things. So what we'd like to be able to do is send kind of a form home, an excuse form home in the summertime, and then post that as well on our website so that parents have something that they can easily download, print, and send in so that those absences are marked as excused. Because obviously, when we talk about interventions, if little Donnie Feldman, although Donnie Feldman's never been little, if Donnie Feldman broke his leg, and he was out of school for an extended period of time, presumably the counselor, the teachers would work with the parents on some sort of an arrangement, and they wouldn't be flagged as an attendance issue. So this helps in that process. Next slide. So in the plan right now, we have some student attendance incentives that are in the plan, including attendance honor rolls posted in prominent places in district buildings, grade level rewards at each building for best attendance, classroom acknowledgement of the importance of good attendance. And some schools in the past have done either a poster or an essay contest on the importance of good attendance. Where we are in the pandemic, those types of things, the committee felt as though that we're not trying to encourage attendance at the sake of the health and well-being of fellow classmates, staff members, and folks in the building. So we are recommending that we remove anything that encourages perfect attendance to be cease and kind of stopped for the foreseeable future. So that's a recommendation that we're making there. Next slide. And then the last piece of it is, and this came from kind of our classroom teachers, in the instance of, there's committees at each of the buildings that review attendance on a regular basis. You know, at the elementary buildings, it's generally the principal, the guidance counselor, and the school nurse. At buildings, the classroom teacher, the individual student teacher, kind of the will of the group was that, you know, those attendance issues be kind of shared down to the individual teachers so that they not kind of know what's going on. It happens, it just doesn't happen perhaps as frequently as some of the classroom teachers would like. So in instances where there are attendance issues, to kind of rope in the classroom teacher at the elementary level, the team teachers at the middle school level, and then the period teachers at the high school level was something that, you know, the teachers and the group really wish to be able to do. It is happening, just not as probably as frequently as it has. So next slide. Sorry, I'm going to pause here. That's the attendance plan. That's kind of our recommendations for the attendance plan before we move on to the wellness plan. Are there any questions as far as the attendance plan goes? Yes.
I do have one. To be blunt, I've heard from staff members that say, look, if you can't keep the kids in school, I mean, how are we going to teach them? Does this have enough teeth behind it? It just seems, you know, I mean, like, what are we really doing to keep that?
Well, look at it, it's a plan, it's a guideline for
It's very
procedures.
frustrating. I've heard staff say that they feel like they're hitting their heads against the walls because, again, does this have teeth?
It has as much teeth as we can give it. I mean, honestly, because the interventions start with letters home, phone calls home, then it elevates to a point where if it's something that we're not getting a response, that CPS is involved and those types of things. Short of that, I don't know how much more that we can do. It's what also we're kind of looking at doing, honestly, everybody kind of during the course of the year, the plan is what the plan is. The interventions are such that there's reliance on staff to make sure that those interventions go out. We are enhancing Power School over the course of the summertime, which is our student management system, to look and do those automatically so that they're automated, so that those go directly to parents, so that we don't fall behind, we don't miss anybody, those types of things. And that assumes then that attendance is taken appropriately, properly, things along those lines. But to your question, Mrs. Jason, we're at a level that, I mean, this is all we really can do. You know, CPS is kind of our last stop. We've involved the counselors, we've involved home visits, those types of things. Short of that, I don't know what much more we can do.
And on that list of people, you know what I'm going to ask? On that list of people involved, did I see a parent?
There was a parent initially. That parent dropped out because of it. We are soliciting additional parents for next year.
Please, I mean,
I
there's
get
got to
it.
be parents somewhere.
I get
who
it.
wanna
I get
serve
it.
them.
We did have a parent that started.
They have a voice in this too.
So we had a parent that started back when we first started in March. Things kind of got away from us. We met again in May, and that time the parent is no longer in the district, moved away. So
But we're working on getting.
we will get more parents, yes. Any other questions? Okay. So the district wellness policy review, you have it again, really two small a couple of changes at the top there, just recommended changes. The wellness policy codifies some of the nutrition-related programs that the district participates in. We're recommending that we remove the Breakfast at Bell program. The Breakfast at Bell program no longer exists, thus the district does not participate in it. So we're just recommending that we remove that. That's coupled with, again, the next one. We are community eligible across all schools, which means that kids do eat breakfast and lunch free every day. So it's just two small changes there. And then the last thing that we're looking to kind of talk about, and it's some of the things that Mr. Genestri will talk about later. At the time that our last meeting was, there was some discussion about lunches in classrooms. We'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. But if they do lunches remain in elementary classrooms, we need to continue to codify that all elementary schools will be nut free for the 22-23 school year for allergy reasons. Next slide, Mr. Genestri. And then the other thing is, the group, through feedback from teachers, through parents, one of the things that you remember that we did about 3 or 4 years ago, we really kind of honed in our celebration party menu, so to speak, for when parents brought in goodies for birthday parties and things along those lines. Because remember, when we do snacks, they have to meet a nutritional standard. So much to my chagrin, cookies and cupcakes don't make the cut. We have to do some healthy snacks that meet the nutritional standards. So we have some that we've codified in our plan previous. This is in a letter that's sent home to parents at the start of the school year. Particularly our elementary teachers really asked on the committee that they've gotten some feedback, nurses as well at the elementary level, about the less than wide variety of snacks that we had to choose from. So our nursing team and the wellness committee really took it upon themselves, and we came up with these additional healthy snacks that we'd like to add to the classroom celebrations. So it'll bring us up to about, I think there's probably 15 to 16 different items on that list. Yes, Scott.
I assume these are available locally. Some of these I've never seen. That's fine.
They are all available locally. They did very well to kind of get those types of things. And I didn't put up there, but I have a list of where those things are available. And those will be in the letter that goes home in the summertime. We'll send that home so people know.
Cool. Thank you.
Does that letter still state that they can purchase ice cream treats from the cafeteria?
Yes.
If the elementaries have ice cream?
Ken, I'm sorry.
If they have ice cream available?
Correct. Any other questions about the wellness plan or the attendance policies?
So just on
Yes.
your point, it's just so I understand, is ice cream, if kids are eating in the classrooms, are they able to get any of that extra?
It does not sound like they can.
Not at this point, no.
Just
So
wanted
say
to
that
understand.
again. So all the elementaries, that concerns me, they don't have ice cream.
They don't have ice cream.
So why?
Mr. Genestri, the elementary children don't have ice cream.
We'll see if we can fix that.
Because they're eating the classroom, right?
Correct.
Because
Yeah,
they're
but
eating in
can't they
classroom.
still get them delivered or,
Yes, we can work on that.
okay.
Yeah.
So again, I know I don't want to steal
You're
Mr.
all
Gen-
ice cream
I
connoisseurs
don't
up
want to
here.
steal Mr. Genestri's thunder, but this was you learn a lot of things in the midst of a pandemic. This was very much a learning year for us. And if lunches do remain in the cafeteria, I know Christy Zajac and our food service department has got ideas on expanding menus, including goodies.
Ice cream.
Okay.
On a personal note, as a father of two at the elementary level, who, especially the one who loves ice cream more than anything, I've not heard a complaint about that, which is he complains about everything. So I'm shocked that I will inquire firsthand knowledge for sure.
Okay.
I guess I do have one question. I've just been kind of chewing on as we're talking, going back to the attendance policy. we're talking about intervention for folks, for kids who are not getting to, let me move up to the mic, who are not getting to school on a regular basis. But then now I understand the rationale, which is why I hesitated, but I feel like we're talking about both sides of our mouth a little bit when we remove all the incentives and I'm not naive enough to believe that these incentives are enough to really kind of turn the tide on attendance, and maybe the juice isn't worth the squeeze, but I still, it kind of bugged me a little bit where it just didn't seem like it was coherent. And one side we're saying we're going to intervene quickly and aggressively to get kids here, but then when we get them here, we can't incentivize them being here. And maybe you should, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to jive.
I don't disagree with you. There are some, I think we looked at, Josh, removing more of incentives for perfect attendance as opposed to good attendance. So if that makes any sense. So there are some things that are still codified in the plan here that really do stress the importance of school attendance, but we moved away from perfect attendance.
That makes more sense.
More than just good attendance.
When I was at Maplemere, PTA used to hand out little booklets to people, and it said right on there, my child will be absent on such and it was very easy for.
Correct.
Okay, so
Correct.
Still get 'em.
Yep. There's some PTAs that still do that. So we're working through that. Thank you, Mr. Janestri. If there are no other questions. Okay.
Before I start, I should have done this while everybody was here. I want to introduce Toya Wilson, who was our new assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. And I apologize. I didn't realize everybody would pull so quick, but we'll absolutely have time for introducing you to the whole group. But we're very excited to have you. You're going to start on July 18th and hit the ground running. And we're already in communication. And she was here today already. And so we're super excited to have Toya on board to move us forward. So yeah. Okay. I realize, as we're going to talk about lunches, obviously, and moving forward, and, we try to make decisions that impact everybody, that are in the best interest of the district. And each decision that you make, as you know, has a major ripple effects throughout the organization. And so this kind of decision, it was basically 3 years in the making. And that, I know, as a result of the pandemic, lunches were moved into classrooms for spacing. And that was one of the main reason why that the cafeteria was not a viable option. But as with anything, you learn and you gain data and you make decisions based on the data that you have in front of you. And there are a lot of other decisions that impacted us in the past 3 years, not just cafeteria related. So I'll get into that in a minute. So in our elementary buildings, since 2019, there's been a lot of changes in the numbers, basically. And a big result of the pandemic was a reduction in class sizes. So you can see across the district that we are down anywhere from 0.35 to 0.465 students per class per grade in the district. Also, in each grade, there's additional classes. So in kindergarten, since 2019, we've added 2 sections of kindergarten, 3 sections of first grade, 2 sections of second grade, 5 sections of third grade, 2 sections of fourth grade, 2 sections of fifth grade. So since 2019, the district has added 16 additional elementary rooms throughout the district in the 4 buildings in our elementary schools. There's also been an increase in enrollment in our elementary schools. So we are, since 2019, we are a plus 69 as far as our student enrollment goes across the 4 buildings when it comes to in our elementary schools. So just in those 2-3 years, you can see it's been quite an impact, but the big one is the plus 16 classrooms that have been added. Now, that was added because of distancing, and in doing so, you also, that comes with staff implications as well. Since we become community eligible, our number of lunches served is also up. So in 2019-20, we've served 325,460 lunches. Just this year alone, we've served 424,109 lunches. And that does not include June. So we're up almost 100,000 lunches in serving. So as we've become community eligible and more of our families have recognized the fact that we eat free breakfast and free lunch, this has gained a lot of steam over the past 3 years. So there's a lot more lunches being served by our Sweet Home staff and Mrs. Sajak's staff. I should note, that's not good. Somebody's trying to. Sorry. I'm like frozen.
You must have gotten kicked off.
Let's see. It says Virgil's Apple TV. I don't know what happened.
I'll find out. Give me a second. I'll get your presentation.
All right.
I'll share it. Give me a second. There you're back.
All right, cool. Thank you. So all students ate for free in both school years. Those were both community eligible years. And now we're adding daycare students, and students from St. Christopher's are also eating free just this year. So, but that doesn't equate to the plus 98,000. Those are mainly Sweet Home students.
Well, what about what? I know you don't have it in the, but I'm curious. That's a huge growth and we don't see the same enrollment growth. So what's driving it?
More people are taking advantage of free lunch.
Inflation.
Mr. Feldman, just anybody in that classroom, particularly at the elementary level, generally are getting lunches, generally speaking.
And this will continue for the foreseeable future, as far as all our kids getting free lunches?
The community eligibility.
But isn't this a little bit the tail wagging the dog here, where because of the way that this is set up, like well, I don't want to jump the gun here, but I know a lot of these slides are building the case about why lunches should remain in the classroom. But isn't this kind of data largely driven by the fact that lunches should remain in the classroom rather than as a justification for lunches to remain in the classroom? In other words, wouldn't you expect it to return back down to, maybe the 350 lunches served?
It might, especially if students are waiting in line to get and they don't want to wait in line to get their lunch. And that's why I put this slide up, that obviously we're very happy with 424,000 lunches being served, and we would like to continue that.
I see your point.
And students, it makes it just a lot easier, and they're getting the full 30 minutes of lunch.
I got you.
That time. We've also had an increase in enrollment of our special ed population. As you can see, we're nearly 10% of our enrollment now in the 2019-20 year is going up, and that trend continues. We've had since July of 2020 through December of 2021, we've had, these are the numbers of transfers, elementary students with special needs, transfers into Glendale 8, Heritage Heights 5, Maple Mere 11, Willow Ridge 4, and then initial classifications are also up: Glendale 7, Heritage Heights 6, Maple Mere 16, Willow Ridge 5. And some of these students have very high needs, are heavily reliant on OT, PT during that time. Some of them are in self-contained rooms as well. We've had additional hiring of elementary teachers, special education teachers, ENL teachers, psychologists, social workers, therapists throughout since 2019. Obviously, there's an increased need in our social emotional wellness as well. And so the district has been committed to providing people in these areas to address those social and emotional needs coming out of the pandemic that we've seen across the district. All of these activities require space, obviously, and if you've been at a place like Maplemere, I know they're cutting up libraries to find space, same at Glendale as well. And so there's a lot of different configurations since 2019 in the buildings to accommodate these things. We're also looking at obviously full day universal UPK. Right now, the district is considering adding 4 spaces in elementary buildings, except at Maplemere because of the space issues and crunch there. As everybody knows, there's also a mobile classroom at Maplemere to accommodate overruns. So obviously, we are very excited about adding full day pre-K to the district in these rooms. The benefits are enormous, not only kindergarten preparedness, but higher achievement levels, higher literacy rates, higher graduation rates, less discipline issues, more prepared for college and career, et cetera, as you look at the research on what a full day universal pre-K can bring to the district. So there's going to be, while this is important and we're doing a slow roll into UPK, the reason is because of the space issues that we have in our buildings. I've asked the principals for details on their occupancy rates right now as it stands. At Willow Ridge, all classrooms are currently being occupied by students. The cafetorium is used for music, physical therapy, science storage, and possible space for UPK specials next year. At Maplemere, all classrooms are currently occupied by students. The cafetorium is used for music and school-wide programming. It's also used for after-school programming. At Glendale, same thing. All classrooms are currently occupied by students for instruction or intervention. The cafeteria is being used for music. And at Heritage Heights right now, 30 of the 31 classrooms are occupied. The 31st classroom is being used as a professional development room. Cafeteria space is being used for math intervention, small lunch gatherings with counselors, progress monitoring assessments. And there are 2 classes that do have lunch in cafeteria space, but they're smaller sizes, obviously, and they're remaining socially distant at Heritage.
What changes when distancing requirement changes? Does this utilization change?
So it could at Heritage. If the spacing, if you limit or you increase, if the restriction on spacing like completely goes away, and that's an area we want to look at, because right now we still have it in place, because if there is a case and it's a close contact, we're still obligated to report. So we have it in space, but it's going to increase class sizes, I think is the main issue or the main concern that we have. And then when you increase class sizes, are we staffed appropriately in moving forward? So all of these decisions have these ripple effects that go throughout the buildings.
So we really don't have, I want to be clear.
Yep.
We don't have a distancing. We're not told we have to distance by 3 feet, but we're doing that because we are told that if there's a case of COVID, we have to go through all this contact tracing.
Yes.
So that's what we're looking for them to decide over the summer, if those rules are still going to be in place.
And we, the numbers are trending in the right direction. And we feel like, if I was a guessing person, that these restrictions would go away. But the news is reporting there could be some decisions made this summer. And if numbers start to tick up before school starts, then, it could be like last year, August 15th, we're getting guidance from New York State on how to move forward. So this keeps us in a safer place, obviously, when it comes to restrictions. But if I was, they seem to be pulling back, and we seem to be coming out of this.
I'm confused by the need for staff. If the classroom enrollment increases, why do we need more staff?
Less.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm like,
Because you would consolidate rooms that way.
could it turn into a co-teaching situation?
It's something that we could explore.
Okay.
Yep.
And we still, we have, I know you know this, but we have that commitment to the community that we will keep our K1, 2 levels lower, because that's the integral reading and social emotional and all that.
Yes.
Kind of made that commitment to the community.
Yes. And we're, and especially, I think, next year, as we continue to come out of the pandemic, I think smaller class sizes are very appropriate for next year. And moving forward, and I'll talk about that in a minute, that's a decision, that we have to make, and we're gonna have to make that together. So just some simple observations from, and I've been in the buildings during lunchtime. I've heard from some parents, I've heard from teachers, I've heard from administrators. There are, in a lot of cases, reduced student anxiety levels because it's a calmer environment. Reduction in behavior issues. Students are getting the full 30 minutes to eat. There is no waiting in line, which is important. Students are in a quiet space. They do socialize with their classmates. And in Maple Mere, for example, they are also pulling students during lunch for intervention activities. Students are traveling for specials, recess, interventions, playground. They are traveling on a daily basis. Yes, a movie is, I'm weighing the good with the pros and the cons here. There are movies played every day. Some enjoy the movies, some, wish there were other activities. I also think students in the day and time that we're living in a smaller space, less students in a space is safer. And lunches are served in a bag, usually cold, not ideal. I know they do have pizza once a week at Heritage. I do hear about that all the time. And we realize there's a burden on our cafeteria staff, and some teachers definitely prefer that time in their classrooms. And so I've heard that as feedback as well. So moving forward, for staffing and building use purposes, I think we need to make a decision now because our buildings need to settle and get ready for placement for the fall. So we are recommending and would like to move forward on having at least one more year of students eating lunch in the classroom. With that said, though, I think this is a year that, especially, as we continue to come out of the pandemic, that we need to start work this summer, and the district is going to commit to conducting a census, basically to examine our population trends. We see enrollments steadily ticking up. And so we need to get a grasp on where we are, and the census is going to help us do that. We need to work with our internal data analytics tools to study live birth data and enrollment trends throughout the district in each area of the district where a elementary school is present. We need to study whether moving classrooms to pre-pandemic student counts is feasible, considering the increased mental health and special education needs of our students. We need to study building uses at all the facilities throughout the district to ensure we are making the most out of our available space. And we're continuing to study next year the addition of pre-K in classrooms to make the eventual move and the goal of having all of our 4-year-olds housed at a Sweet Home facility. That is our desire to move forward at least for one more year as we examine the buildings, their usage, our enrollment trends, and the data, and see where we can go, from here.
And the thought is you would not say, well, Heritage can have class. We want to, it's an all or nothing.
And I've heard across the board, if they're doing it, why can't we do it, from a lot of parents? And because I think there was, as we came out of the pandemic and masks came off in March, I think there was some confusion about where we're going with all of these things. And there were rumors that I got calls on, we're doing it at Heritage, but we're not doing it at Maple Mere, what's going on? And so we would recommend that we keep it consistent across the district.
No.
Yep.
One is it, I want to understand, you may not know the answer, but is it possible to have lunches in the cafeteria? Is that you've kind of outlined some concerns here, and so one of the questions I have is, okay, let's just set those aside. I'm not denying there's issues, but is this doable? In other words, if for whatever reason, it was decided that's in the best interest actually to have them in the cafeteria lunches, is that something that can actually be done based on, where, staffing and things like that?
I think anything can be done, but at our current occupancy rates, no. So where we are now, we would have to make some serious changes to find rooms for specials, PT, those type of things. So
So those specials and that, because like, I guess, and I'm asking some of this, I'm asking as a board member, but also I think a parent may ask, like, well, specials or lunches are X number of hours per day. So wouldn't the cafeteria or cafetorium be available, the other time?
Couldn't it be
for-
creative scheduling is what you're
so
trying to get to?
some,
Yeah, I agree.
so right now, we'd have to find a place for music. That's the main thing that all the cafeterias are being used for. And then, except for Heritage, where they're doing other activities.
And I will say, part of this I'm coming from, because just very simplistically, as a kid and even as an adult, like, I don't like to stay in my office for lunch, and as a kid, it was like a regular thing. You kind of broke up the day. So I do think there's value there to the students. And then what the teachers leave their classroom and there's a monitor that comes in.
Yes.
Are there periods of time where there may be like what happens if there's not, if we have staffing? I know we've had issues with substitutes or been close, or do we always have enough to stat? Like, are teachers or people being asked to sit in on the classrooms? Is that an issue? Because then you're having somebody like
a program
maybe
aide.
is a program aide in all day in the school? in the
Yes, the
class?
program aide is in the building all day, but they may be pulled to sub at occasion if we don't have subs. Correct me if I'm wrong, they may have to monitor a lunch because we don't have enough people. In the pandemic, I heard a lot of, yes, we'll do it. Yes, we'll do it. Whatever the kids need, we'll do it. But that was pandemic life. And if we're really getting back to normal life, can we rely on teachers and others in the building to do us a favor by monitoring lunches in classrooms?
So ideally, I can't say that teachers aren't doing that on occasion. And ideally, we're trying to find subs or have our aides in the rooms to do this work. That's the ideal thing. And, on occasion.
I have one last thing I just want to ask, I know you've listed here that you have some of these observations. I know that the principals have provided their thoughts. And in part of this, you mentioned the teachers and that, but because to me, this is an issue that, yes, there's a practical element, but some issues are bigger than others because it affects everyone. And there's an emotional part of it that impacts the families. And so I want to make sure that, I guess I'm wondering, does it make sense for us we've done surveys like over COVID and that, like, have we really surveyed the parents? Like, to me, I mean, there's a big difference if 20% of the parents are comfortable with the kids, being in the classroom versus 80%. Those numbers could be meaningful, and likewise, even our staff. I don't really have a sense. Like, is it? I have an impression that most of the teachers maybe would prefer the kids to go to the cafeteria for lunch, but again, that's an impression. And I think that might be trying to get an understanding of where we're at with that. Is it? Because again, are we just looking at this from one perspective?
That's kind of my concern. I want to build on that. We had 10 slides here that I hinted at it before that made the case of why lunches should be in the classroom. But I didn't see that same level of analysis go to the other course of action, which is put kids back in the cafeteria. Maybe there are deal killers, true course of action killers, like music doesn't have a home. Okay, well, then we can talk about that. But I just didn't see the same level of planning, and we're asked to make a decision now. And frankly, I don't have enough information. I don't hear any of the cons associated with this plan. Brian got to a big one, is I feel like the kids need a break from the classroom. I believe that some of the observations are presumptions, not facts, and anecdotal at best. I just don't think that you know, have we done to Brian's point, the why can't we? You know, show us that we can't. I understand that the status quo right now with things changing is easier, but we've never just done the easy thing, right? I mean, if it's impossible, it's impossible. If it's too much of a stress on students or staff, then fine, those are deal breakers. But I just don't see that same level of thought and analysis has gone into what we said all along is let's return to normalcy. And now once we're faced with, we've been faced with a lot of adversity, but almost kind of like the last hurdle. And we're just saying, well, we'll do it next year. And I don't mean to oversimplify it or even patronize in any way. I certainly understand all the arguments. I just want to see that same level of analysis for putting kids back in the class or in the cafeteria.
Just talk. Go ahead.
You need a second too?
Yeah, I'm trying to
Form your
wrap my
thoughts.
head around what you two gentlemen just said, and I kind of agree with you guys on that. You know, one of the biggest things, my daughter's in 5th grade, and the biggest thing is like she's with the same 14 kids. Actually, I think there's 16 in their class, 16 kids all day long. She doesn't see other friends. She doesn't see, they don't do like, you know, they don't do gym. They don't go outside. They very rarely are with the other 2 5th grade classrooms at Glendale. I think that's big. And I know we talk a lot about the, you know, the mental, social, emotional. I'm wondering if spending all day in one room, with the exception of, you know, your specials with the same 14 kids is a detriment to that. And being in a cafeteria and being with 42 other 4th graders or 5th graders, whatever it may be, may help the mental, social, emotional aspect of it. Just my thoughts.
You know, you make a valid point about your daughter being in 5th grade and only spending time with those 16 students. What's going to happen next year when she's tossed in with 100 other students or 200 other students? Not your daughter, but will the children know how to behave? Will they be able to interact with other people in a large crowd? They haven't had to do that for 2 years. So they haven't learned those very important social skills. And I think if we put it off for one more year, I mean, you're looking at the last time a 5th grader had a normal school day, they were in 2nd grade. Like that is just too long. Like we're not teaching them how to be interacting humans.
On the flip side, if we do it one more year, the 3rd graders for next year will have never done it.
Exactly. So I think that I personally think they need to get back into the classroom, but cafeteria, sorry, misspoke there. Cafeteria, but as Brian and Josh said, I'd like to see the other side of, you know, all the reasons. I mean, I have my personal views on, I could rebut almost all of them. And working in the cafeteria and working in elementary buildings prior to serving on the board, and also being in a position that I'm chained to my desk for 7 hours a day. As a grown woman, I can tell you, it is not easy. It is not good. I eat at my desk. The only time I ever get away from my desk is to go to the restroom. I don't get specials at work. I would love to get specials at work, but like, these are the things, like, it's draining, and it becomes very, very mentally exhausting to just be in the same space with the same people for 7 hours a day. So like I said, I think we need them to be back in the cafeteria, but I will listen to whatever we need to do to, you know, whether it be creative scheduling around specials or creative, whatever we need to do. I happen to be over at Mill. My daughter plays lacrosse over there 3 times a week. Their office staff is in the trailer out front They've taken their office spaces and made them kid spaces, and their office staff is in the trailer.
So Mike, if we said to you tonight, look,
Yeah.
we want our kids back in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
How do we make this happen?
We'll make it happen.
And I appreciate that. And that's what Sweet Home's always been about. Now you've been about that, Mike, too. But I still do want to see, I think we all do want to see, kind of the pros and cons,
Sure, yeah.
there are pros and cons to both. I tend to believe there's more pros for getting kids to get back in the cafeteria, but that, you guys in administration, inform me or us. And then, we can make an informed collective decision.
Especially when you're talking about increased, I think if I'm wrong, please correct me, but the way to do this is to increase class sizes, correct?
That's one thing we can examine.
So because you have to increase class sizes to free up classrooms to put music and specials or whatever back into those classrooms that they were in before.
MUPK.
Yeah, I'd like to see some information on that.
Yeah, but,
With
maybe
the
what
breakdowns.
would it look like in terms of class sizes and that kind of thing? How would it look if we tried to creatively schedule? I know scheduling in the elementary buildings is a nightmare. I bow down to those that do it. I wouldn't want it in my lap. I've seen it done many a times. So I realize that the scheduling piece is difficult at best. But it's worth the look at what would it look like if we were able to.
Okay. And just one last point if we get there, to your point, a lot of the things that you mentioned, I think the previous slide, are things that existed, in cafeterias forever since I've been there. So if there are operational things, are there ways we can improve the cafeteria experience? We can talk about that. But I think first, I almost think that previous slide is a little bit irrelevant because it's applicable. It was applicable back in 2019 as much as it is today.
The waiting in line.
Waiting in line and most, less utilization of the free lunch school program or free school lunch program, all those things. But that's not relevant to whether the kids are in the cafeteria or not. Once they're in, those things exist. So can we get better about it?
All right, I will prepare that for next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a UPK update. We've sent out 171 packets to families this week. We are currently in the registration process. The first registration deadline is the 24th. And we are making calls and letters going home to families to ensure they meet those registration deadlines. You'll notice in your packet, we're also your first reading of an update to our therapy dog service animal policy. I met with Christina Pinkowski last week, and she was kind of inspirational in us approaching the policy committee regarding the use of service animals and the therapy dogs in the district. So I've invited her to the July meeting, and she has an entire packet from Therapy Dog International, who she's associated with, on the benefits of it, of a program for therapy dogs, but also on how a program like this would roll out district-wide. So I just wanted to make a note of that's in your packets, and that she's going to be here next month.
Can she bring her?
I've asked her to do that. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Oh, she will?
Can she bring one for everybody?
We're not gonna share.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
I'll ask her how many she's got, but she's very, very enthusiastic.
I'm gonna bring my
about it.
therapy dog.
Want my
Yeah.
therapy dog to go.
That'll be crawling across the table.
And then an update, we're moving forward. The next meeting of the North Amherst Community Center is June 27th at 6:30. And that's going to be a community advisory board committee. Excited about that. And then finally, high school graduation, June 23rd, 6 o'clock at UB. Oh, sorry. And our next meeting, June 21st, will be at Sweet Home Middle School in the auditorium. We're going to celebrate our 10-year appointments and district retirements at that time. We'll also have our annual presentation on the district safety plan, and the DEI committee will be on hand to make their presentation and recommendations on policy and their mission and vision statement for the year.
Do these mics work at middle school?
No. So we'll have to
Have
do a
to be
setup
loud.
in the auditorium. We might go old school then, right? On how we broadcast that out.
Microphones,
Pass Mike.
Yeah,
Pass the mic.
pass them
Yeah.
around.
is what it is. Yeah. That is what I have.
Any more questions, comments? All right, that takes us to new business. First is special education. You guys have to give me a little time. There were 300 pages. This is probably one of the, take care. This was probably one of the most, so 300 pages, but I've gotten through half of it, so I'll have a report for next week. Monthly financial reports. Any questions? We'll get those next week. Bids, the all-important ice cream bid. Will we be taste testing any of this?
They're in the freezer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. Our school bus parts bid. So, our milk and juice bid. Did you find out, do we have the special milk without like the lactose?
I didn't. I will find that out.
Thank you. And our handicap transportation bid. Any questions? D is funding of reserve funds.
This is just allowing us to do this when you put it together for August, correct?
Right, correct. It's an annual thing that we have to do that basically authorizes us to fund reserve funds when we make our recommendation to the board in August.
E is obsolete property. What do we have? What do we?
Couple of ovens. A lot of books, couple of ovens,
Okay,
a lot of stuff.
cleaning
out time.
All right, F is proclamation of our retirement group, 438 years of service, and that's probably added on to, wasn't there an additional? Is it still 438? I thought I saw an additional person retired.
That's the number.
Okay, 438 years of service, wow. G is our revised policy first reading, 1410, and that does include the service animals. H is our 2020 capital outlay project, our general trade bids. Any questions? I is our use of tax tertiary reserve funds. Say anything about that? or no?
You'd like me to?
Well, yeah, just what we're still.
Sure. So you'll see in the packet there, at the outset, we budgeted, there was a budget line of tax tertiary reserve, the use of the tax tertiary reserve in the budget of about $50,000. To date, we've expended $189,000. We still have about $80,000 left to pay out in terms of tax refunds for the remainder of the year. So we've made a recommendation to utilize $128,000 out of the tax tertiary reserve to help offset some of those costs. And really, there are three cases that have gotten us pretty good. The first is UB Commons, which is a refund, tax refund that dates back to 2016, I believe, of about $180,000. Key Bank on Sheridan Drive was a refund of about $60,000 going back to 2015. And then Elderwood, I believe, on the corner of Bailey and Eggert. So that's a $40,000, just about $40,000 refund that goes back to 2019. So as I explained in my memo, we do have a tax attorney that represents us in these cases. We have a number of outstanding tax tertiary cases. He negotiates on our behalf to mitigate refunds. And I would say that he's at about an 85 to 90% success rate.
He's usually trying to get them just for the years going forward, right?
Correct. It's usually just an assessment valuation lowering that goes forward without any refunds. But sometimes it's unavoidable. And UB Commons was a big one.
Obviously, it was a big one. But I would say that that's why we have the tax cert reserve there. And depending upon how we end up, we would look to probably replenish that and make a recommendation to you. But that's why it's there.
They can go back all those years.
They can. They've been for a long time. And what I will say is the town of Amherst, their own tax attorney, we had several outstanding tax cert cases that were never addressed, never brought to the bench, never anything. So the town of Amherst has got a new tax attorney and she is working very hard to get these off her desk. So I think right now, from what Mr. Roteris, our attorney, tells us, I think we have 3 remaining outstanding tax certs, which is down from about 25 to 27.
Hey, Jay, thank you.
You're
Jay
welcome.
is our local wellness guidelines, policy 5661. And K is our attendance procedures tonight. Any questions, comments? All right, seeing none, that takes us to informational items. Peter,
It's been a while.
I know, it feels like it's been forever.
Let's see, well, was the Star Awards, was since our last meeting? I mean, we attended all
Don't
the
remember.
I don't know.
high school
Yeah.
Star Award breakfast. I attended some senior games for the men's lacrosse, men's baseball, where, you know, it was actually baseball had 2 senior games for a couple of kids that weren't at the first one. At Glendale, they, over the last couple of weeks, they've had a fun run, a PTA meeting, an art show, and a meet the new principal night. That went out very well. Attended a 5th grade band concert. And then this week, Thursday, I've got the final PTA meeting of the year at Glendale and Glendale's 5th grade moving up day.
All right, lots of activities. Thank you, Peter.
I'm gonna wait till next week. I didn't have time to piece it all together.
Oh, okay. No problem. Josh,
Just one, actually. We had a chef meeting, which I won't bore you with the details because most of them were covered here.
come in here.
So that's it.
All right, thank you. Brian,
Yeah, a couple of things. One is I did also attend the Stars award ceremony at the high school, which I thought was very nice. And, you know, I think it's nice that we recognize our students for, you know, the academic achievement, but also attendance and behavioral, and no behavioral issues or so that was the nice event. Willow Ridge hosted a multicultural night, which was really interesting. My kids enjoyed that. They had, you know, we had a lot of volunteers that was through the PTO, and you know, it was just really nice to see different cultures represented and giving the kids an opportunity to kind of experience it, not from a textbook, but, you know, they also had food in different plates and things like that and desserts. So it was a really very nice event. The week before that, Willow Ridge PTO also had science night. So we attended that. That was also a lot of fun. And we actually, my kids got to hold, and you know, when I say my kids, I mean, this would be available to obviously any kid that or student that attended. Pieces of meteorite, pieces of the moon, and you know, learn a lot about, you know, there was a thing there where they would pour water onto this landscape and they could see how the water would run down and get a better understanding of pollution, how that works and runoff. There were 2 presentations, one on eagles and hawks, that they had live birds there actually, and then another one with other animals, and including a python that the students were able to hold. So it was a really very nice event. Flag Day and Field Day was today, and I remember as a kid, and you know, I'm attending Flag Day, so it's nice to see. I remember learning it's a grand old flag. My kids saying it's a grand old flag to me. So that was nice to see that patriotism is still being taught and emphasized at a young age, because I do think, you know, that's important. And you know, and the civic duty and our role as citizens is still being taught and emphasized. at an early age. Audit committee, I attended that earlier in the month, the audit committee. We reviewed internal audit as well as the external audit. What I will say is that there were no material issues, and being a CPA, there was nothing concerning of me either in those reports. And so good job to Don and his group. And then the last thing was the policy committee. I also attended that meeting, and we've seen some of those policies, and I know we're going to look at DEI next week. But all good, eventful month, but all good things.
Thank you, Brian. Amy.
Have anything? I missed the middle school PTSA meeting. Not real sure how I missed it, but I missed it. But other than that, it's just kind of been a crazy time for us.
I'm coming out. I'm out of my quarantine from COVID. It was nice getting that out of that. So second time, I'm so done with it. So I went over and helped out at the picnic that the service center puts on for the special needs kids as well as the service center. And that's the first time I've attended that. And I didn't realize it, but those guys all contribute money to buy all the hot dogs and everything that goes along with that. That is, wow. Archie, Al, Steve, Al brought his old car there. You really like that. It was just so neat to see that community spirit. So thanks for all of them organizing it. Great relationships with the kids. The kids would come up to the bus drivers like they were best friends for years. And it was so great to see. Went over to Maplemere for field day where Mr. Ryan was hit with 7 cream pies, I think it was.
Saw some of
It
those
was
online.
a
That's
great-
awesome.
a great day. Heritage Leadership Day, I think we all got links to that to watch that, as well as the Flag Day puppet show for 20 minutes, which was very well done. It was great. What else? The E&L picnic. Lots of exotic foods over there that I have never even heard of, but what a great turnout. The first year I went, 15 years ago, there was just a handful of people. Now it was just so well attended. The families had a great time. So, and lots of good food. And I think that, Erie County School Board Association, I tried to pick up yours and Kaylee's awards, but they didn't have them there. So they said they'd get them to you.
Yeah, they said that in the mail.
It was a nice event. There was, as it always is, definitely not as many people as been in the past, but nice to get together. And I think that's it.
I just got one thing I want to throw in. I wasn't there, but I want to say congratulations to our girls flag football team. They won the
Yes,
division
yes.
championship and undefeated season. That was awesome.
Yes, a lot of work went into
We
that.
got out there before halftime. It was 42-0.
Oof. Wow. All right, that takes us next to personnel, teaching and administrative, as well as some things under that, as well as service. Any general questions for that? All right, seeing none, could I have a motion to go to executive session for personnel?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
This is Jason.
yes,
Did we miss the second open session?
We did.
we did.
Yes.
Was there anyone who wanted to do a second open session? Let's go back. So how
Yeah.
do we get back? Thank you. No.
Actually, I would be good if you could.
Yeah, because
But wait.
for
should
the
we
recording.
Procedurally, should we, because we did,
That's okay. Sherry says no.
go ahead.
Just
Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Feldman.
You're welcome.
I'm not going to read everything because I know you're a member of the district. So go
Thank
for
you.
it. 3 minutes, it's gone.
It won't take that long. I just want to make a comment back to the board members that made comments before, and there are solutions. There are ways to solve these problems. The lunch line is the exact same as what we do now. Order lunches and have them delivered to the tables in the cafeteria. There are things that we can do to help these issues. I want you to understand the kids come to school. They come into the classroom at 8:45. They leave at 2:35. And the only time they're out of the classroom is for 45 minutes for their special. So from 8:30 to 2:45, the only time they're not in their desk in their room with those 14 kids is for 45 minutes. So I implore, let us help. Let the teachers who are living this help make the solutions for you, with you, not for you, with you. Let us be part of the solution, because there are solutions to this. And we have lived it, and we can help create these solutions so that it's a win-win for everyone. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? All right, so again, did we adjourn?
Let's
Get
do
the
it
votes
again.
to
Let's do it
adjourn?
again.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
To executive session.
Executive session.
So
for
moved.
Personnel. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.